My parents said my son couldn't join the family. Sports day teams were already set. Later, I found out there were 124 people, most joined. Last minute, I didn't yell. I took action instead 3 months later. My parents were at my door in a full-blown panic. How was the sports thing? I asked casually, blissfully unaware that 5 minutes later, my stomach would drop through the pavement, that a cheerful recap of tug-of-war and water balloons would rewrite the last week of my life, that I was about to realize something I couldn't unrealize, and that it would change everything. But at the time, just small talk. It was after school pickup. I was leaning against the school gate, counting down the minutes, until my son's classroom spat him back out into the world. My cousin Kayla was next to me, sipping something with oat milk and doing that thing she does where she talks like the event is still happening. Oh my God, it was amazing. She said they had obstacle courses, a mini soccer thing, spoon and water balloon races, face painting. Total chaos. Jonah was covered in dirt and ketchup and joy. I think someone counted. There were like 124 people there. Kids, parents even, some neighbors. We ran out of juice boxes by 10. I smiled politely. It was the kind of smile I've perfected over the years. Warm, non-committal, good for weddings and PTA fundraisers didn't. Alex want to come? She asked, frowning a little. He would have loved it. Oh, he did really wanted to, actually, but it was my fault, I said. I missed the sign-up email. My mom said we could go on the waiting list, but no one dropped out. I said it like it was no big deal, like it hadn't broken my kid's heart, like he hadn't asked me 5 times a day. Did Grandma say anyone canceled yet? Kayla blinked. Then she laughed. Wait, you're joking, right? I blinked back. What? There wasn't a list. We didn't sign up. Jonah decided the morning of, we just showed up and they tossed him on a team. It was totally casual. I'm pretty sure half the kids were added. Last minute, I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. My face went flat, the kind of still. I save for traffic stops where everyone suddenly forgets their own name. Occupational hazard. I work in law enforcement. Kayla's expression shifted. You didn't know that. Still nothing from me. She looked rattled. I thought you weren't coming. I figured you were working or something. I didn't realize they told you. I cut her off with a smile. It's fine. We're fine. You sure? You look a little just tired. That's when the bell rang, like a fire alarm for awkward conversations. Alex came flying out of the building, all limbs and backpack straps. Hey, Mom, he said. Then he looked up at me and frowned. Are you okay? Even my 8-year-old could see it. My parents told me my son couldn't participate in the family sports day. Teams had already been finalized later on. I discovered there were 124 attendees. Most of them signed up at the last moment. I didn't raise my voice. Instead, I chose to act 3 months later. My parents appeared at my doorstep, completely frazzled and in a frenzy. How was the sports day? I asked casually, not realizing that 5 minutes later I'd feel like the ground had opened beneath me, that a cheerful summary involving water balloons and tug-of-war would flip my entire last week on its head, and that I was about to uncover something I couldn't unknow, something that would change everything. But back then, it was just idle chat after school pickup. I was leaning against the school gate, watching the minutes tick by, until my son's classroom released him back into the world. My cousin Kayla stood beside me, sipping something oat-based and narrating like the event was still unfolding. Oh my God. It was incredible, she gushed. They had obstacle runs, mini soccer, spoon races, water balloon madness, face painting, total mayhem. Jonah was filthy, sticky with ketchup, and absolutely glowing. Someone said there were about 124 people, kids, parents, even a few neighbors joined. We ran out of juice boxes before 10 a.m. I gave her a polite smile, the kind I've mastered for weddings and PTA meetings. Warm, vague, perfectly diplomatic. Didn't Alex want to go? She asked, brows furrowing. He would have had the best time. Oh, he definitely wanted to, I replied really badly, actually. But I missed the sign-up email my mom mentioned. We could be on the waiting list, but nobody ended up canceling. I said it like it didn't matter, like it hadn't crushed my son, like he hadn't asked me 5 times a day if Grandma had said anyone dropped out yet. Kayla blinked, then laughed. Wait, you're kidding, right? I blinked too. What? There was no list. We never signed up. Jonah just woke up that morning and decided to go. We showed up, and they tossed him on a team. Super casual. I think a bunch of kids were added at the last second. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. My expression went blank, the kind of flat calm I save for traffic stops when everyone forgets what their own name is, hazard of the job. I work in law enforcement. Kayla's face changed. You seriously didn't know? Still, I said nothing. She looked shaken. I assumed you weren't coming. Thought maybe you were working or something. I didn't realize they told you. I stopped her with a smile. It's okay. We're okay. Are you sure? You seem a bit just exhausted. That's when the bell rang, a perfect escape hatch from an uncomfortable moment. Alex came bursting out of the school, all flailing limbs and swinging backpack. Hey, Mom, he called, then paused, studying me. You all right? Even my 8-year-old could tell I bent down, kissed the top of his head. Yes, sweetheart. Just a little tired. We headed to the car. He talked nonstop about a mix-up with his lunch, a new class pet, and a kid who can burp his own last name. I nodded. I laughed. I was still standing at that school gate hearing Kayla say there wasn't a list. We just showed up. They threw Jonah on a team, and just like that, the whole story snapped into place. Not the one I was told. The one I wasn't supposed to see. A lie that clean doesn't come out of nowhere. You have to practice for that kind of cruelty. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. This wasn't new. It was just the first time it had happened to my son. Growing up, I always had this vague feeling that I'd shown up after the credits had rolled. My sister and brother were planned space 2 years apart. My mom even told me once that it was the perfect age gap. I was born 5 years later. During what I can only assume was an administrative error. I don't have proof I wasn't wanted. No diary entry saying, oh no, not another one. But I have years of evidence, dozens of little clues, like a trail of breadcrumbs, leading directly to the family photo album where I appear halfway through blurry and squinting in the background. My siblings didn't exactly greet me with open arms. When I was a baby, I was the reason they had to take turns watching cartoons when I was a toddler. I was the reason they had to babysit instead of going out. They didn't pretend to like me. They pretended I wasn't there. And then came the rules. We had rules for everything. My parents were big believers in fairness. As long as fair meant you get less and you don't complain. There were rules about food. Who got seconds, who got dessert. Somehow I always missed the cutoff. I once asked why I couldn't have more mashed potatoes, and my mom said, because we have to make sure there's enough for the bigger appetites. That was code for your brother, gets everything. But the worst rules were about participation. Every Sunday night, my parents and siblings played Hearts, a 4-person card game that became a weekly ritual. They played at the kitchen table, laughing and keeping score on little paper slips. I'd sit nearby, pretending not to care, like a dog watching people eat steak and insisting it's fine with kibble. When I asked to join, my dad said it's a 4-player game, you'd ruin the balance, like I was a math error, a decimal. No one wanted to round up. Sometimes they let our cousins play, but never me. They also had chore rules, all very logical on the surface. My siblings had more homework, so I got more chores. Since I had more free time, I got the toilet, the cat litter, and baseboard scrubbing. My brother took out the trash. Once a week. My sister managed the calendar, which basically meant reminding Mom about dentist appointments and getting praised for her leadership skills. I once asked why I always got the worst jobs, and my mom said, because you're the most responsible we trust. You nothing like being punished with trust. Looking back, I'm not even angry about the chores. I'm angry. I believed it all made sense. The rules always had just enough logic to make me question my own. Instincts, that's the thing. None of it was overt. I was never screamed at or locked in a cupboard. It was subtler than that, a lifetime of sorry, sweetie, not this time, and you'll understand when you're older. Except when I got older, the answer was still no, just delivered with better vocabulary. When college rolled around, my siblings both got parental support. They went off to places with Latin mottos and seasonal scarves. I stayed home. My parents had a rule they would financially support any child who got at least 3. As in priority subjects, math, English, and chemistry, I got an A in English, AB in chemistry, and AC plus in math. They said it wouldn't be fair to change the rules now, of course not. So I joined the police academy, state-funded, no parental support required. I got paid while training and learned how to handle crisis calls, drunk uncles, and situations where someone's screaming but technically not breaking the law, all of which incidentally prepared me well for future. Family gatherings I thought I'd escaped. I'd built a life where the rules were consistent, predictable, and most importantly, not designed to make me feel small. And then last week, I found myself repeating the pattern. I'd spent my whole life trying to outgrow it, started when Alex, my 8-year-old, came home from school nearly vibrating with excitement. Lucas said, "There's going to be a family sports day. Can we go?" I blinked. "What's sports day?" Lucas said. "They're making teams, and there'll be races and soccer and obstacle courses and everything." He said, "It's this Saturday." I texted my mom. She wrote back, there was an email. "Invite you didn't RSVP, so I assumed you weren't interested. Teams are already full." I checked my inbox. Nothing, not even spam. I told her that. She said, "Maybe it bounced. Maybe I deleted it, happens all the time." Then she added, "But I can put Alex on the waiting list. If anyone drops out, I'll let you know." And I believed her because my mom was always big on rules, and because I work in law enforcement where the rules matter, where they mean something. So I told Alex he took it well better than I expected. "Okay," he said quietly, and that was it. No yelling, no meltdown. Just a soft little nod, and an okay that made my throat feel tight. But then he started asking gently, hopefully, like he didn't want to push, but he really needed to know. "Did Grandma say anyone canceled yet? Can we still go if someone drops out? Did you check your phone? Maybe they'll make a new team. If I'm really good, it wasn't once a day. It was 5, maybe 10. He asked with that careful kind of hope only kids have, the kind that tries not to be annoying, because deep down they're scared the answer might really be no. Every time I texted my mom, and every time she replied with the same careful clipped messages, "No change yet, still full. Sorry, sweetheart." I told myself she was being fair, respecting the rules, doing what she thought was right, and I was proud of Alex. I really was. He didn't throw a tantrum. He didn't act out. He just waited. Hopefully, quietly, he still practiced soccer in the yard, still packed his water bottle and sneakers the night before, just in case. I convinced myself we were both doing the right thing, that this was a valuable lesson in fairness and how life comes with rules. But then I discovered it had all been a lie. There was no cutoff date, no closed roster, no filled up teams, no waiting list, just a fabricated excuse, and I believed it. I passed that belief along. I told my son the system was just that he hadn't been excluded, just unlucky, and now that thought won't leave me. Because all through my own childhood, I sat on the sidelines watching a game I was never allowed to join. And when it finally counted, when I had a chance to change the pattern, I placed my own child on the bench right next to me. They didn't just lie to me. They made me lie to him, and that's a kind of betrayal. I don't know how to forgive, not from them, and not from myself, but I can tell you this. It's not over, and next time, I won't be quietly sitting on the edge. In the beginning, I kept replaying it, asking myself why they'd do this. Why? Why go to such lengths to pretend there was some sign-up list? Why give him hope at all? But I cut that train of thought off because deep down, I already knew, or worse, I understood there was no reason that would make any of it make sense, not to me, and certainly not to Alex. So I let go of the question, why, and replaced it with the only one that mattered. Who helped keep the lie alive? Who stood by with a smile? While my son stood off to the side, clutching his water bottle and his hope, because once I found out who, I could make absolutely sure they'd never get that close to him again. So I did what I'm best at: quiet, steady, face-to-face conversations. No outbursts, no yelling, just deliberate truth. One person at a time. I started with my mother. I dropped by that evening. No heads up, no warning. Just rang the bell like I was asking to borrow sugar. She opened the door in her usual soft focus apron, all sweetness and fake surprise. Oh, I wasn't expecting. There was no waiting list, I said flatly. No smile, no greeting. Just those words, her face stayed still. What are you talking about? You told me Alex was waitlisted, that the teams had already been filled. She gave a small, papery laugh, the kind people offer when they're cornered but still trying to charm their way out. Oh, sweetheart, it was just a miscommunication. I thought, no, you didn't. I cut in, locking eyes with her. You lied. That landed. She blinked once, twice, then released this long, dramatic sigh. The same one she used back when I was a child and asked questions that irritated her. I just didn't want things to get messy. There were already so many kids, and not everyone. There were 124 people there, I said. Jonah was added that morning. So were Mindy's twins. Alex was the only one left out. She shifted her stance the way people do when they realize they're losing well. I didn't think you were that concerned. I texted you 5 times. She tried the hurt angle. You're being very aggressive. No, I replied, still calm. I'm being direct. She didn't say sorry. Of course she didn't. She called it a judgment call, said sometimes things just fall through the cracks. Like my son. I walked out before I said something I'd regret, although honestly, I kind of regret not filming her face when I said the word lie. Next, my father, he was in the garage fiddling with old tools like, that's going to get him canonized. I told him what Mom said about the list about Alex. He looked down at his workbench like it might offer him a way out. I didn't know what she told you. She said there was no space, that the teams were full. Longsight. Well, we didn't want drama. Right, of course, the fragile piece of a barbecue mattered more than an 8-year-old's dignity. Alex hoping every day for a spot, I said, that's real drama. He didn't respond. You knew, I said. You helped organize. He mumbled something about just helping with chairs, which would have been funny if it wasn't so insulting, you knew. I repeated softer now, and you said nothing. He didn't meet my eyes, just stood there, surrounded by rusted tools and a silence I no longer felt responsible for filling. I left him to it, then came. My sister, we met for coffee at her request. She picked a place with cute chairs and expensive muffins, probably hoping the vibe would do the emotional heavy lifting. So she said, crossing her legs like a talk show guest. Heard you're on the warpath. Not a warpath, I said. Just asking people why they lied to an 8-year-old. She laughed. Actually laughed. Oh my God, you're really upset about this. No, I said. I'm really calm. That's what makes this worse. You're taking this way too personally, right? I said. Because it was just my son. She sipped her oat milk latte and rolled her eyes. You always do this. Do what make everything a big thing. It was a casual event. We didn't think you cared. Did you know? Mom told me teams were full. Her mouth twitched, just for a second, then she smiled wide and polished. Honestly. I didn't know what she told you, but you knew Alex wasn't invited. Silence. That was all I needed. Last, my brother. We met in a parking lot, neutral ground. He leaned against his car, like we were meeting to exchange hostages. When I told him what Mom said about the waiting list, he frowned. That's not what she told me, he said. What did she tell you, that you were busy, that you said no? I stared at him. You believe that, he shrugged. You weren't at the last 2 family events I was working. You know my job. He shrugged again. It's just a family sports day. Don't blow this up. You knew there wasn't a list. Sure, but I didn't know what Mom told you. It's not like I was involved, but you didn't ask no, and you didn't tell me no. He looked at me like I was being irrational, like I was the one making it personal. Maybe I was, as it was after that. I started talking to everyone else, cousins-in-laws, people who were actually at the event, face-to-face in quiet places with calm voices. I told them what Mom had said, that I'd asked to sign Alex up, that she told me there was a list and that it was full. Every single person looked shocked. Wait, said my cousin Ashley. I thought you were out of town. Nope, I assumed you didn't want to come, said another. She said you had other plans, said a third. Some of them looked genuinely shaken. One aunt even teared up and said, if I'd known, I would have called you myself. One thing became very clear. None of them were in on it. The lie was tightly held, just my parents and siblings. Everyone else had been fed stories, subtle, little edits, to make sure no one asked too many questions. They didn't just keep him out. They made sure no one would question it. I didn't post anything. I didn't call people out publicly. I didn't write some long Facebook takedown. I didn't need to. The truth was doing just fine on its own. But then, of course, my mother tried to reclaim the narrative she posted in the extended family group chat. It's very hurtful to hear certain things being said that aren't true. We've always tried our best. Family should forgive, not spread rumors. Some people are choosing to rewrite events in a very unfair light. No names, no details, but everyone knew who she meant. So I responded, no rant, no yelling. Just a screenshot of my messages with her, asking about the event, asking to sign Alex up, asking if anyone dropped out. And beneath it, I wrote, I'm not spreading rumors. I'm showing receipts. The chat went silent. 4 hours. Then someone liked my message, then another. And then nothing from her side. No apology, no explanation, just digital silence from the people who raised me. And for the first time in a long time, that silence felt like relief. But I knew it wasn't the end, not even close. I didn't wait for an apology. The moment I hit send on that message, the one with the screenshots, the timestamps, the evidence, I blocked all 4 of them. Mom, Dad, my sister, my brother. No long speech, no warning, no drawn-out confrontation, where they fake cry and talk about healing, just silence, controlled, deliberate silence. I didn't even give them a chance to spin it. They'd had weeks for that, months if you count the years, of groundwork leading up to it. No more playing family with people who don't know what the word means. What I hadn't done yet was tell Alex I hadn't planned to. But after the group chat message, I started getting little signals. A cousin's kid asked him if he was still mad about Sports Day 1. Mom from school texted me something vague and well-meaning that made it clear the gossip train was already leaving the station and I couldn't risk it if he was going to find out the truth. It had to come from me, not from a classmate with half the facts and no filter. So I dreaded it because if it hit me like a truck and I'm a cop trained to stay calm when someone's bleeding on a sidewalk, then what the hell would it do to an 8-year-old? But I didn't have the luxury of shielding him anymore, so I got up early one morning, made pancakes, and sat across from him like we were about to talk about math homework. Hey, I said softly. I need to tell you something about the sports day. He blinked. At me, still chewing. You remember how we thought there was a waiting list? He nodded. That wasn't true, Grandma. She lied. There was space, a lot of space. She just didn't want us there. He didn't say anything. I waited. Finally, he asked in the smallest voice I've ever heard from him. Did I do something wrong? I swallowed hard. No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything. If anyone did something wrong, it was me. I think she didn't want me there, and you got caught in the crossfire. He looked down at his plate. His hands were still. But I was excited. I know, I said, and somehow managed to keep my voice steady. I know you were. He didn't cry, just nodded, then asked if we could watch cartoons later. I said yes. Then I went to the bathroom and sat on the floor for 10 minutes, shaking that afternoon. I opened a new group chat titled, It's Something Better. I sent the first message, I'm organizing a new family sports event. Everyone's invited, except my parents, sister, and brother. Let me know if you're in. Stared at the screen, heart thudding. Then the replies started rolling in, 100% in. Yes, let's make it amazing already. Blocking out the date. Need me to bring cones or chaos within hours. We had volunteers, team captains, a designated snack table coordinator, and someone's uncle who owned a bounce house, but most importantly, we had sides. It wasn't just an event, it was a statement. We weren't pretending everything was fine anymore. No more polite silences, no more gritted teeth over potato salad. This was a rebellion, and I wasn't leading it alone. The planning was chaotic in the best way I'd never organized something this big before, but apparently rage and spreadsheet addiction are a powerful combo. We picked a date, rented a park name, the teams after ridiculous things, Team Pickle, Team Tornado Team, Left Sock. People messaged me privately telling me what happened at the last event was awful, that they wish they'd known sooner. Some even offered to help pay for equipment, one cousin. Wrote, I told my mom if she goes to their house again, she's not welcome at mine. Another said, we all saw how they treated you. We're done pretending it wasn't just inclusion, it was alliance. We had rules the ironic kind. Rule number. Num 1. Everyone's allowed rule number 2, unless you excluded a child for sport 3 days before the event. My mom and sister showed up at school pickup like they thought public places made them immune. I saw them standing by the parking lot, all pearls and forced smiles. I didn't even flinch. Can we talk? My mom called out. Nope, I said. Busy. My sister took a step forward. You really going to keep the kids out of this? You did that already, I said without stopping. You're being vindictive. No, I said, opening the car door. I'm being selective, my mom raised her voice. You're tearing this family apart. You tore it, I said. I'm just cleaning up the pieces. I drove away before they had the chance to say anything else. The next day, their approach shifted. This time, they sent a child, my niece, sweet and quiet, the kind of kid who still hugs with both arms. She came up to me after school and asked, in a soft whisper, if she could come to our sports day. Mom said maybe you'd say yes if I asked, she murmured. I knelt down beside her, smiled gently. Of course you can come, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. Her whole face lit up. I glanced across the field and saw my sister watching from a distance, smiling. She thought she'd pulled off a win, but she hadn't. The day of the event buzzed with energy. More than 100 people showed up. We had music, ice cream coolers, mismatched team shirts, and someone even brought a karaoke machine, even though it had nothing to do with sports. Alex wore a captain's armband and greeted each kid like a tiny executive. He took the role seriously. I'd never seen him look so proud. Then, halfway through the day, they arrived. All of them, my mom, dad, sister, brother, their spouses, their casseroles, uninvited, unwelcome. But there anyway. Their children ran off to join the games. I let them. I wasn't going to punish kids for the choices of adults, but for the grown-ups, we were prepared. We'd all agreed ahead of time. No greetings, no smiles, no eye contact. They wouldn't be offered seats. They wouldn't be served. They would be seen, but not embraced. As they approached the tables, conversations fell silent. They lingered awkwardly, hoping for an opening that never came. My mom tried speaking to someone, got a tight-lipped nod and a turn back. They became invisible, and yet in that invisibility, painfully noticeable. Eventually, they hovered near the trash bins, then moved to the edge of the field, and finally, they left. The kids were upset. One had half his face painted like a dinosaur. Another had just won a race and didn't want to leave. But they went anyway, ostracized by their own actions. 3 days later, they showed up at my door, my mother, my father, and my sister. Apparently, my brother had something more important to do, or more likely, he wanted to avoid another round of shame. I opened the door just enough to show I wasn't afraid, just finished. You humiliated us, my mother said. No, I replied, you did that yourselves. I just stopped covering it up. You made us feel like criminals. You made a child feel invisible. Frankly, you're lucky all you got was a cold shoulder. My sister stepped closer. You need to fix this. I smiled. I already did. It was perfect. My mom narrowed her eyes. One day you're going to regret this. I already did, I said. That's why I ended it. Then I closed the door. No yelling, no drama, just closure. I walked back into the kitchen where Alex was at the whiteboard I'd hung just for him. He turned to me. Mom, next year our team should be called the Comeback Kids. I grinned. Sounds like a plan. Because we were, and we already had. I still don't know if I went too far, but I do know I protected my son, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. What do you think? Did I overstep or finally set a boundary? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell.